The northern forest was wrapped in silence, broken only by the whisper of the wind threading through the pines. Snow carpeted the earth in soft mounds, and the river, though mostly frozen, hummed beneath a thin sheet of ice. This was the realm of Ashira, the gray wolf, and her small, vulnerable cub, Rune. Ashira had lived through many winters, but none as harsh as this. Prey was scarce, and dangers lurked in every shadow. Still, she was determined. Rune was her only surviving cub, the last heartbeat of her bloodline. She would fight the world itself to protect him. One afternoon, Ashira and Rune were tracking the faint scent of a snow hare when the ground rumbled beneath them. The forest animals scattered, birds burst from the trees in frightened clouds. Ashira bristled, ears perked. Humans ****. A group of poachers on snowmobiles tore through the forest, shouting and laughing as they hunted indiscriminately. Ashira grabbed Rune by the scruff of his neck and ran, heart hammering. But Rune was weak, and the snow deep. They couldn't outrun the machines. A shot rang out. The bullet missed Ashira but startled her into slipping. Rune tumbled from her mouth and slid down a frozen ravine, yelping. Ashira scrambled after him, her claws scrabbling uselessly at the ice. She held in despair as Rune disappeared into a crack in the river ice, falling into the frigid water below. The poachers hooted above, leaning over the ravine. But they weren't interested in cubs, they wanted bigger prey. With a few more taunts, they left, their machines roaring into the distance. Ashira pawed desperately at the edge of the ice, whining and barking, trying to find a way to reach Rune. His tiny yelps grew weaker by the second. The ice was too thin, and Ashira was too heavy. Every attempt risked breaking through and dooming them both. She held, a long, mournful cry that echoed across the frozen woods. And someone answered. At first, she didn't recognize the figure weaving through the trees, tall, hooded, moving with strange, careful steps. Ashira backed away, baring her teeth, her motherly instincts flaring. But the figure paused at a distance, crouching low, speaking in a soothing tone. It wasn't the sharp bark of human speech. It was something older. A cadence that stirred memories in Ashira's blood, of old pacts between wolves and men. The figure threw back their hood to reveal a young woman, her face painted with charcoal lines, her eyes bright as stars in the night sky. Around her neck, she wore a necklace of carved bone and turquoise. She was a forest witch, one of the old ones. The woman knelt at the edge of the ravine and whispered to the ice. Slowly, it began to crack, not in chaos, but in a careful, spiral pattern. The woman reached into her pouch and scattered a handful of herbs and ashes over the water. Rune's small, sodden body floated to the surface. Ashira barked frantically. The woman stripped off her gloves and plunged her arms into the freezing river without hesitation. She pulled Rune out and laid him gently on the snow. The cub wasn't moving. Ashira whimpered and took a cautious step closer. The woman murmured something under her breath, rhythmic and lilting, pressing her hands to Rune's small chest. She breathed into his mouth, tiny puffs of life. Nothing. Ashira held again, low and mournful. And then, Rune coughed. A thin, wet sound. The woman smiled and wiped the water from his mouth. She pulled a blanket from her pack, wrapped the trembling cub inside it, and offered him to Ashira. Ashira, cautious but desperate, crept forward and took Rune gently in her jaws. The woman spoke softly once more, her words flowing like the river, carrying promises of safety. She gestured toward the north, deeper into the forest where a hidden valley lay, a place untouched by poachers, rich with prey. Ashira hesitated only a moment before setting off, Rune safely tucked against her chest. She turned back once to look at the woman, her golden eyes meeting the woman's bright gaze. For a heartbeat, predator and human stood as one, allies, protectors of the ancient wilderness. And then Ashira was gone, a silver shadow slipping between the trees. Weeks later, in a hidden glade warmed by underground springs, Ashira watched Rune play among the wildflowers. He had grown stronger, his coat thick and his eyes sharp. He pounced at snowflakes and barked at butterflies. High on a ridge, the woman watched too, a smile playing at her lips. She turned away without a word, vanishing into the trees, leaving Ashira and Rune to their future, a future made possible by an unlikely savior from a forgotten world.